Seafarer, the ship sim, just dropped its big LNG and bulk update. New tankers, new loading mechanics, debris events, heavier weather, the lot. On paper, it's exactly what ship sim fans wanted. In reality, it's very close to greatness and still tripping over some painfully avoidable designs and camera bugs. Seafarer, the ship sim, is a realistic ship simulator with a sim-cadey kind of feel. It's still in early access and at the moment it's single player, but multiplayer is on the way. Developed and published by Astragon, and at the time of review the price on Steam is £20.99. If you're not already familiar with Seafarer, it's a game which puts you in charge of a growing fleet, operating in an open world inspired by the Northern European seascapes. You run missions for different factions, cargo, coast guards and more, and you do this in both story mode and quick play. The LNG and bulk update adds the Nordic Duchess, a gas tanker, and bulk vessels like Bulk Willy and Big Trip. New cargo mechanics for LNG and bulk loading, unloading, extra open sea events like debris, ships in distress and other random encounters. In this review, I'm mainly going to be focusing on the LNG tanker gameplay in stormy conditions. That includes filling, transporting and offloading LNG to Crescent Port using quick play. Another new feature. So does the truth match the sales pitch? Well, the store page promises a beautiful open world detailed ships and advanced wave simulation with Unreal Engine 5 and NVIDIA WaveWorks 2.0. And on that front, visually and atmospherically, it does deliver. Heavy seas, rain, very nice lightning, rolling waves and the sense of mass on a huge tanker are mostly impressive. The new LNG mechanics aren't some lazy press F to load kind of shortcut. You are going to be aligning loading arms, managing pressures and monitoring tanks in a proper mini-game arcade feel that kind of suits the role. But a realistic simulation this is not. For this to behave like a professional tool, not a theme park ride, there's a lot of work that needs to go into it. At the moment, it's still very much an arcade early access title. There are some silly camera bugs that lock your view so you literally can't take control of the wheel. There are doors that randomly refuse to open, navigation AI that suddenly loses its mind and steers your ship like they're drunk, and then debris marking mechanics which, whilst clever in concept, seem to have been executed in a very clumsy manner. So yes, in a sense, it does match the pitch on visuals and core idea, but it's certainly not there on robustness, on realism, and the polish and professionalism and reliability that you expect from a game like this has somewhat missed the mark. Is it realistic? Well, from a realism perspective, Seafarer is strong on atmosphere and ship handling, great modelling, but it's weak on procedures and physics. The sense of scale, walking the decks of the Nordic Duchess, heading down into the engine room and standing next to the machinery, absolutely sells the size of the ship and the weight of a real tanker. It really does deliver on that front. The weather in the sea state in a thunderstorm, you've got the ship fighting the wind and the tide and the waves, and it kind of reacts a little bit like the way you would expect. Not really simulated, but more sort of sim-caded. You're constantly going to be trimming the rudder just to keep a straight line, and it feels like a vessel working against the elements. It's certainly not on rails. But it lacks certain elements that a big ship like that, I think, in this day and age, would have to have. There are no side thrusters, apparently. So mooring in position, dealing with flanges, connecting loading arms and managing the pressure during the LNG transfer, that all feels believable, but the approximation of the real workflow just feels like it's been cut short. When you finish pumping, seeing the frosted over pipes, that is a neat, realistic visual, a nod to LNG physics and temperature, and that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about realism. But where the realism breaks is the lack of bow side thrusters. On a ship that size in tight port manoeuvres, you're going to end up doing ridiculous scrape the dock swing manoeuvres in order to get the nose out. Manoeuvres that feel more like exploiting the physics than working with them. The debris reporting system was great. I loved looking out for these debris, spotting the hazards and so on, but it wasn't really clear how it was going to work, and the binoculars could see way before I could acknowledge the fact that I could see them. It's a brilliant idea, but the interface just doesn't match. What we need is, as soon as we can see it, we can clock it, and as soon as we clock it, we can radio in the position. That makes so much more sense, and I just wish they would listen and implement it that way. My AI helmswoman, and I've had problems with my helms people before, but sometimes she holds a line, sometimes she just throws the ship around like she doesn't care. The AI behaviour completely undermines the professional bridge team fantasy that they're trying to sell. I know it's early access, but you've got to point these things out, otherwise they'll be there forever. And then I had this weird camera locking bug. I was completely unable to look down below my waist. It was impossible for me to actually grab the wheel and take control of the ship. Now, it was a combination of buttons that I pressed that caused this to happen, and through playing around with the controller for another 20 minutes or so, I actually managed to fix it. Don't know how I did it, don't know how I undid it, but it's here for everyone to see. So the realism potential is high, and I've already put a video out highlighting how it could be changed quite easily to really boost that realism and level of immersion. Whether or not they listen to me is highly debatable. Right now, I'd say it sits around 7 out of 10. It's convincing in feel, but not really enough to be a proper simulator. So graphically, we've got the wave patterns, we've got the spray, we've got the ships in motion in big swell. They look excellent for an early access simcade. The Nordic Duchess model is detailed inside and out, and the bridge and the decks and the machinery and just everything about this ship looks superb. You take a tour of it, it's like taking a tour of the real ship. The lightning in storms, especially at dusk or at night, works extremely well. I actually felt cold and exposed up on deck in heavy weather whilst playing this game. I did have some small issues with screen tearing despite VSync being enabled, and I had some strange flickering light effects, just general sort of visual bugs that I think they could iron out over time. In terms of audio, the engine and the weather audio do a lot of heavy lifting. The constant low frequency hum plus wind and sea noises does sell the environment, but we're lacking creaks and bangs and unknown noises that you would actually expect to hear whilst on a ship. Radio chatter's a bit limited. Warnings about debris and crew lines and stuff adds a little bit, but it does become a little repetitive, I have to say.
For the area you're currently in, debris has been spotted in your vicinity that could cause damage to vessels and marine life. If you spot any debris, please navigate around the area and report the exact coordinates so we can carry out cleanup operations more efficiently.
I'd much rather have all the ships chatting to each other in a realistic manner. Footsteps occasionally sound lag or detached from movement, which can trigger that "is someone following me" kind of feeling. And overall, it's a good baseline. It could definitely use more depth. There's so much more could be done with audio, and audio is the key to immersion. So I hope they give this enough justified time, effort and money to get it working as it should be. Regarding performance, everything was fine really. The weather was on maximum sort of graphical difficulty, everything was turned up to the max. There's a new system at the beginning when you load the game up that will auto detect your graphical capability. I used that, but at one point I did get a slight stutter. Happened a couple of times, especially inside port when there were lots of geometry and AI ships about. No crashes, but the camera did break completely at one point. I almost thought I wouldn't be able to get the ship in. The doors completely stopped working. I had to teleport myself to the steering controls, and the steering controls failed on me a couple of times. But that was really more down to the camera, to be fair. That combination means that it's stable, but it had a few bugs. Screams classic early access. It's playable and enjoyable, but not something you trust mid-session if you're a hardcore sim fan. You wouldn't want to put 5 hours of sailing into this and then suddenly have something like that happen to you. So I did a single LNG mission just to test it out, and I've got to say that quick play is a strong addition to the overall game. Being able to jump straight into an LNG run in a thunderstorm at night is exactly what many players want. Less menu work, more ship handling, although you don't earn anything from doing it. Filling the tanker is definitely a highlight. You have to detach the safety bolts, manually maneuver the loading arm using a dedicated camera and controller, line it up correctly, and then manage to pump pressure in a small mini game, which is a little bit disappointing if I'm being fair. It's fiddly the first time you do it because, well, it's not very intuitive and there's not a lot of guidance there. But when it works, once you've done it a couple of times, it's super easy. Departing the dock, rather, with no thrusters in gale conditions, That was a bit silly. There was nothing I could do other than to scrape the stern along the key in order to lever the bow out slightly. I actually ended up doing it in reverse, reversing out and using the bow to push the stern out, which is actually how I ended up getting away. But honestly, on a ship that size, you would have to have either the ability to call a tugboat to help you get out of that tight situation, or you would have side thrusters. I just can't understand why that ship doesn't. Once you're out at sea though, the AI ship traffic and small boats is brilliant. Some of those boats, the captains on some of those boats must have been insane to be out in the weather that we were out in, but it was great because it was busy, it was difficult, and this is where we need multiplayer, because it was impossible for me to be steering and looking out in all directions at the same time. The debris events, great idea. I loved spotting the hazards, trying to mark them and understand that these things, well, they do exist in real life. Due to my own sailing experiences, you know, these things do happen more regularly than you would give them credit, and they are extremely dangerous. Just today, 15 massive storage containers went overboard in the Solent. I mean, 15, that's a huge amount in such a small space. The autopilot AI helmswoman, still weak, still not working properly. Sometimes she can hold the course, sometimes she's all over the place like she's been drinking whiskey since yesterday. It was a bit tense arriving in port and trying to dock with a fully loaded LNG tanker with just a rudder, but it's challenging in a good way. It also exposes the current limitations and the lack of realism in the current control model. You want more tools and more realistic tug thruster options, not less. Best three features then, got to be the atmosphere, sense of scale. Standing on a deck in a thunderstorm, watching other ships roll around in that heavy swell and hearing the wind batter against your superstructure, that's where Seafarer absolutely nails the fantasy of being on a big commercial vessel. The LNG and bulk mechanics, I love this too. The loading arms, the flanges, the pump pressure, even though it's a silly mini game, and the frosted pipes after transfer, that was really excellent, a lovely touch. They're exactly the kind of deeper ship handling mechanics that sim fans want to see, and it already feels like a solid foundation for making it more realistic if only they chose to do so. And the living sea and events that you have, the AI shipping lanes, random debris, yachts out in conditions that they shouldn't be out in, it all builds a world that feels busy and reactive. Add that to the roadmap of promises of more missions, rescue operations and co-op, and the potential here is still huge. I just cannot overemphasize how much I want it to be more realistic. So the worst issue right now, single biggest problem, has got to be the interaction reliability. The camera breaking on me to the point where I really couldn't access the helm, the doors randomly staying shut and refusing to open, debris marking that doesn't really work the way that it should, and the AI steering that sometimes behaves like it's having a stroke or something. All of that just chips away at the immersion and the trust of the game. For serious sim players, these kind of things cannot be acceptable. We need to know that if we mess up, it's our fault, not because the camera locked or the UI forgot to respond. And if we do mess up, we want to pay the consequences of that mistake. Developer feedback, same as usual, lock in reliability first. Fix the camera bugs, fix the little bugs and the issues here. I know it's just released and I can be, you know, forgiving of it, but some of these bugs are from the original launch, and it seems like you're prioritizing DLC expansion. It's not really a DLC, it's an update, but you're focusing on updates rather than fixing the existing bugs. That is a surefire way to annoy your potential customers. You could, I suppose, do a little bit more to help clarify how to use the LNG in the quick go mission. You know, you can work it out, it's not overly difficult, it just takes a bit of time. The debris marking though, that was a great idea that was really poorly delivered. I think once we can see them on the binoculars, we should be able to detect them. And once we've detected them, we should be able to radio that in and confirm their location. That to me is the right way to do that, and I can't really accept any other system. Now, large tankers like this normally have proper bow or stern thrusters, and if not, then you would be able to call a tugboat to help pull you in, and none of that right now is available. So once again, it's about lack of realism, not quite being up to standard. And also, the bridge AI should behave like a trained officer, not a roller coaster operator. If she's steering the boat, she should at least know how to go in a straight line and hold the line whilst we're going along. Furthermore, if I'm in control of the boat, I don't want it standing behind me going, "Hi, how you doing? Howdy." That's really annoying. How about have her stand outside and just checking for other boats, and she can say, you know, there's a boat on the starboard side, there's a boat on the port side, be careful, you're getting, you know, she could be so much more useful than she is right now, because she's more irritating than anything else. If you're looking for a semi-serious simcade maritime sim and you can tolerate the early access rough edges, Seafarer the ship sim, especially with the LNG Bulk update, is definitely worth a look. I'm already very excited about this game. I would just love some confirmation from the developers that they are indeed going to make it more realistic. Right now I'd say 8 out of 10 for fun, 7 out of 10 for realism. Overall, that gives it a 7.5, say 8 out of 10. It's a very promising ship sim that could become outstanding if the devs stay focused on the fixes that I've mentioned and the realism that I keep requesting. If you want a fully finished, fully polished, realistic simulator, right now it isn't it. You're either going to have to wait or you're going to have to look elsewhere.
Let's get this groove. We're here to lift you up. Come on and move. Every challenge shining, ready for the fight. With the boys by my side, laughter fills the air. You know we take on life with so much flair. Every day is a new day. Can you feel that vibe? Chasing dreams with a rhythm that we can't describe. In the face of struggles, we never lose our ground. With this funky beat, we'll turn it all around. I just wanna celebrate, yeah. Dance to the music, let it lead the way. With every step we take, we rise and play. You can do anything you put your mind to, hey. Through the ups and downs, we're standing tall. With a heart full of hope, we'll conquer it all. Soulful whispers, psychedelic dreams. We're the masters of our fate, crafting life's themes. Grooving down the street, the sun shining bright. In the power of friendship, we ignite the night. Let the music carry us, lift us higher. We'll dance like no one's watching, fueled by fire. I just wanna celebrate, yeah. Dance to the music, let it lead the way. With every step we take, we rise and play. You can do anything you put your mind to, hey. Hold on tight, feel that heavy bass. This is our moment, our sacred space. Drums pounding, heartbeat alive. Together as one, watch us thrive. Life's a journey, isn't it sweet? Through every struggle we won't miss a beat. With laughter and love guiding us through. We're the stars shining bright with the vibrant hue. Embrace the laughter, let worries fade. In the joy of the moment, dreams are made. I just wanna celebrate, yeah. Dance to the music, let it lead the way. With every step we take, we rise and play. You can do anything you put your mind to, hey. As the sun sets low, we keep the fire alive. With friends by my side, oh how we thrive. In the tapestry